Hello and welcome to Brave Souls Rewind, the show where I do 100 older characters so you don't have to. Today I'll be doing Hyorinmaru, a character I've been meaning to get to for quite some time now, but I've forgotten. Now out of all these Zanpakuto the game put out, Hyorinmaru is the coolest looking in my opinion. He's also supposed to be one of the strongest Zanpakuto, but it's time to see whether or not that translates in game. Now as always, I started off with the normal attack damage build. And the thing about this build for him is that he only has a plus 10 bruiser, which is really bad. Luckily he does have normal attack damage links for this, but his initial attack is not that great, and since I only increased these stats by 100%, it's not as much damage as I'd like. Still though, it did a fair amount, but that's not the issue that I had with this build. The main issue was in his actual normal attack string. I'm not saying his attacks were slow, because they did fire one right after another in a decent speed. However, when the string was done, in order to fire it again, it felt like it took a long time. In fact, what you're seeing right now is me holding down that button. Notice that Hyorinmaru has to wait after each string to fire it again. This made the whole thing slow, and it's not like he was doing that much damage to begin with. So yeah, I don't recommend this build. Next up was the strong attack damage build, and unfortunately much like Bruiser, he only has a plus 10 Berserker, so he has no multipliers on his own. He does have Debilitator, which is nice, but the actual attacks don't deal that much damage. In fact, none of the strong attacks were actually good enough to take out one of the tougher enemies in a single shot. Though I will say out of the 3 his strong attack 2 is probably the best, and that's because it's the only one out of the 3 that has a 120 mag. The other 2 only have a 33% mag. Though I will say they do have decent range and have a good chance of inflicting freezing. Still, the amount of damage they dealt was not that much, and I often had to rely on my normal attack to finish the job since they took so long to come back. It's not to say that you couldn't finish a mission with this build, I just wouldn't recommend it, since it would take you forever, and you're really gonna have to line up some of the strong attacks. Next we have the strong attack recharge build, which actually suffered from a similar thing that the last build did, in that this build also didn't deal that much damage, though it was nicer to be able to spam your strong attacks more frequently. Still, when it gets to the point when you have to use your 3 strong attacks to take care of one enemy, it becomes a little bit annoying. Much like the last build, I did also finish this quest, but it did take a long time, and though I was more likely to inflict freezing because of the spamming, the damage just wasn't there, so I'm also gonna say that this build is not viable. Next up we have the hybrid build, and I just wanted to put an X on it right out of the gate. But surprisingly, I found that this one was a bit more tolerable. This is because while your strong attacks still didn't deal that much damage, you were able to use your normal attacks. And because you could alternate between the two, you could just do that at the end of a combo instead of having to wait till your nat string comes back. The normal attacks still kind of sucked though, since it didn't have that much damage, but against Soul Reaper enemies it wasn't terrible. It was definitely better than any of the other builds. So I am gonna say that this one is viable, though very specifically against Soul Reapers, and I wouldn't recommend taking this in co-op. Though since he's ranged, he may be able to pull it off. Bleep bloop. In the end, one of the strongest Zanpakutos is one of the weakest characters in the game, which is a shame. That's not to say he's not fixable, adding Frenzy and maybe an increase in Bruiser would definitely make for a better character. And they've got to do something about the end of that normal attack. Personally, I do hope they remake all of these Zanpakuto, but if they don't, they have got to do a better job with his resurrection. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe to the channel, and let me know what other characters you want to see in a rewind.